Canada's estimated 425,000 Métis are ready. They're ready to work, ready to develop businesses, they're ready to forge partnerships with industry and government. They're ready to build on their history as entrepreneurs and take on the challenges to build a solid future for Canada's growing Métis population.
And what industry will find out, I think the message that industry needs to know, if you partner with the Métis, you have a long-term partner. And if you have an economic engine or an economic project you're going to propose and push, the best one to go to is the Métis people because we're very entrepreneurial.
Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand's comments helped set the stage for the start of the third Métis Economic Development Symposium held in Winnipeg on March 18th and 19th, 2015.
Today, the Métis Nation is in the house and we're here to do business.
Métis leaders from across the Métis Nation homeland, from Ontario west to British Columbia, were joined by industry, provincial ministers of Aboriginal Affairs, along with the Federal Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development, the Honourable Bernard Valcourt, who was on hand to sign a historic Canada-Métis Nation Economic Development Accord. Minister Valcourt and Métis National Council President Clément Chartier would sign the accord, which was a commitment to the development of an economic development strategy.
What up, my friends?
The accord is seen as a concrete example of the federal government and Métis Nation's mutual determination to move the Métis economic development agenda forward, focused on 4 priority areas, including increasing business development, enhancing Métis participation in major economic and resource development projects, strengthening Métis labor force development, and strengthening the role of Métis institutions in advancing economic development.
We are committed as a government to fully respect the Section 35 rights of the Métis people. And I want to assure you all here today, our main concern here today is economic development, growth, self-sufficiency, prosperity for your communities, your families, your kids, your grandkids. But this is another aspect of our relationship with the Métis people that I want to cultivate and have an honest and productive dialogue. And I hope you have a great symposium. Thank you.
We're here to be part of Canada. We will do our share in ensuring the economic well-being of Canada in the same way as Minister Chartrand in the past has always reminded us. Our veterans played a great role in defending not only Canada, but world peace. In that same spirit, we continue in that tradition, and we seek to, in fact, become an even greater player in the economic life of Canada, and our commitment is there to do so. Thank you.
According to Statistics Canada, in 2012, the country's Métis population exceeded 452,000. The Aboriginal people survey determined the employment rate of the Métis population was 60.7%, compared with 61.8% of the Canadian population as a whole. And the contributions of Métis entrepreneurs to Canada's prosperity also continues to grow.
And it also drove home that we need to continue to benchmark Métis socioeconomic progress going forward so that we know that the measures that we're doing and the programs and policies that we're implementing are actually giving us the results that we want.
To tap into this valuable resource, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce recently adopted a policy based on 4 actions.
Prioritize improving the educational outcomes for the Métis, focusing on high school completion and workplace training in partnership with business. Number 2, ensure equity in federal funding for the Métis education and employment programs relative to other Aboriginal groups. Number 3, work to ensure that any employment, education, economic development policies are designed to reflect the unique characteristics of the Métis, not a pan-Aboriginal program. Number 4, Work proactively and in collaboration with Métis groups to clarify Métis rights, responsibilities, and representation, thus spelling out the rules of engagement for government, business, and Métis organizations.
The Chamber believes there is no economic development without first addressing the 4 platforms, and that industry needs to recognize that economic development is an outcome of skills, skills development, resources, opportunity, capital, and having the right seats at the right table at the right time.
And truly, we want to create positive and sustainable relationships with the Métis and with First Nations and with all communities across Canada. And we want to create opportunities. We want to work with you to create opportunities to build your businesses and to, through the leverage of a project like this.
As I've said, we are committed to continue to work to find even new and better ways to work with the Métis Nation of Ontario, and indeed the Métis Nation in the rest of the country. We have made concrete progress. We're going to continue to make that progress because it's good for the Métis Nation of Ontario, it's good for the people of Ontario, and it's good for the people of Canada.
Ontario is that it always comes back to what is the fundamental objective? What are we trying to achieve? And if you can't boil it down to helping somebody in a community, what we like to refer to as bread and butter issues, if it's not going to help a Métis family, a Métis community get a job, get a step up, Métis business get a step up, then we need to change the channel on top about that. And I think that's the approach we take with Ontario government partner. I know that's what they're interested in is helping people move forward and to find the rightful place within the country, within the economy, within jobs. We could be talking education sector, it's the same thing. How does it boil down to helping individuals, families, and communities?
Métis are determined to make a difference, to build new relationships that will enable Métis to fully share in economic development across Canada. However, there remain major roadblocks to success for Métis entrepreneurs, beginning with access to working capital to compete and grow their businesses. Marty Klyne offers a few recommendations for the Métis economic development strategy.
First, support growth of Métis Nation development capital providers, both loan and equity. Second, fill gaps in the network of Métis financial institutions across the Métis homeland. Third, explore and apply new financial instruments to support the recapitalization of Métis capital corporations. And fourth, but not lastly, expand support for communities to become business ready.
When it comes to procurement, quality and price are the main considerations, not Métis involvement. So again, it's a tough statement to listen to, but this simply has to change in terms of government views, industry, as it pertains to Métis procurement. Policies and procedures do have to change, and that change starts at the top. And
Steve Hobbs with the Canadian Council for Public-Private Partnerships believes that's where they can help.
Really doing outreach with Aboriginal organizations, whether it's First Nation, Inuit, or Métis, but in particular, I think we heard here how entrepreneurial the Métis are and certainly have had wide success, whether it's partnering in major resource projects or other major projects across the country. The spirit and the willingness is there, and so our organization, I think we see a lot of opportunity to help make the linkages between the infrastructure community in Canada and the Métis, whether it's at the organizational level or the local community level.
Yeah, so a lot of our projects benefit Métis communities through agreements which take place, and also through the tax revenues which go to build roads and schools and things of that nature as well. But in particular, when we're looking at a project, we engage communities early and often and come up with a variety of mechanisms to look at doing business together and share in the opportunities of large capital projects.
The signing of the Canada Métis Nation Economic Development Accord reflects upon the successes to date of existing relationships which are leading to measurable gains in both Métis employment and business development. What's required now is for all levels of government and industry to adopt that same determination and recognize what Métis have to offer. Over the next 5 years, Canada and the Métis Nation will reach out to industry and the 5 westernmost provinces to encourage them to jump aboard the Métis Nation bandwagon because it's expected to be a thrilling ride.